Hello, welcome to a Do Something event. We are so excited to welcome everyone here to make STEM 100%. My name is Dave Crusoe. I am the VP of Product and Engineering here at Do Something. He, him are my pronouns, and this is an awesome conversation. So I was preparing for that. I go to the person I ask for advice, my 4-year-old, and I say to him, Sam, what is science? And he says, science. Science is studying stuff. I'm like, cool. Okay, I'm on a roll. I'm getting this. I say, Sam, what is technology? What does a 4-year-old say? He says, I don't know. I love that. So digital native is not yet. I say, what is engineering? He says, building stuff. And finally, I ask, what is mathematics? He says, the number one. So I'm not quite sure that's what STEM is. To me, it's actually something more than that, but I hope that helps us all enter into the space. To me, it's all about curiosity, creativity, and opportunity. So curiosity is just the opportunity to ask questions, to say, what is out there? And the disciplines within STEM give us the tools to investigate those curiosities. And that's where creativity comes into play, because we can apply those tools to build opportunity. So for me, STEM is those things. It means something different to all of us. And in part, the conversation tonight is about that. A few things before we get started. First of all, if you like to use closed captioning, you'll find the closed captioning options at the bottom of your screen under Show Captions. Secondly, we really, truly invite you to ask questions of us. We're here, please ask things of us. You can do the same by using the QA feature also at the bottom of your screen. Let's talk about STEM though. So did you all know that only 1/5 or 20% of all US high school graduates are prepared for college level coursework in STEM majors? That surprised me. And it's really important to do something about that. So we are here to change that. In an effort to improve STEM readiness and inclusivity to 100%, DoSomething.org has partnered with 3M and General Motors, or GM, to bring together experts in the field with fellow young people pursuing education and careers in STEM to explore how we can all make STEM 100%. So during the conversation tonight, we are going to demystify STEM and explore opportunities available in the field by touching on topics including confidence, including representation, opportunity, and access, by talking of relevant education in schools, and also speaking of alternative career paths. And we are really hoping that you all will walk away with more knowledge and confidence in building your own roadmap for your STEM future. Before we begin, I'm also excited to make one final really awesome special announcement, and that is that this morning, and in conjunction with this panel, Do Something has launched the Make STEM 100% program, which includes 2 different calls to actions that you can complete. So the first invites you and your fellow young people to reach out to your school administrators to tell them that you want better STEM education at your school. And that is, yes, you have a voice and you can help your schools evolve. The second call to action is that you can download and share our Make STEM 100% resource guide with your peers to further your STEM future. And in addition to great advice, it can help you expand your horizons, learn about career opportunities, think about how to drive your education forward, and find your peers and community. Once you complete either or both of those actions, you'll be entered for the opportunity to win a $2,000 scholarship. That's pretty rad. So I'm now super excited to introduce our moderator, Alexis Williams. Alexis is an Afro-Latina and queer activist, a model, a public speaker, and full-time student at NYU Tandon School of Engineering, where she's majoring in integrated design and media, or IDM. Alexis, off to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexis. I'm so excited to be here and to be moderating this panel. But before we dive into the panel, I'd love to show you guys a brief video and play a quick game with you to test your STEM knowledge. I teamed up with Do Something for a very special PSA to help illuminate the inequities that exist in STEM and highlight the very important need for robust STEM education. For robust STEM educations in our schools today. So we visited UCLA's campus to play a fun game of Two Truths and a Lie, putting students to the test. And we learned how much they knew about STEM and elevated that diverse and accessible STEM education is key to a student's success. While it was such a great time, it was a reminder that we need to advocate for STEM education more in our schools and truly work together to make STEM readiness 100%. I can't wait to share with you this video, and here it is now.
Did you learn anything new?
Yeah, I learned that things are even worse than I imagined, and I'm hugely cynical.
Did you know that only 20% of high school graduates are prepared for college-level coursework in STEM? Staggering, right? The good news is that since 1990, employment in STEM occupations have grown by nearly 80%. It is expected that the number of jobs in STEM will continue to increase by 8% year over the next 7 years. Yet despite this unprecedented growth, STEM remains one of the least inclusive job sectors. Inequity in the American education system is at the root of this problem. Hi, I'm Alexis Williams, a Black and Latina queer programmer and NYU student keenly interested in the cultural and ethical potentials of emerging technology and exploring the intersection of social activism and tech. I also believe that diversity in STEM education plays a key role in building inclusive technology that serves everyone. I'm here today on a college campus to put the students to the test, to see if they know just how dire disparities in STEM are with a game of Two Truths and a Lie. Would you like to play Two Truths and a Lie?
Sorry?
Would you like to play Two Truths and a Lie?
Sure, do I gotta, sign anything?
I actually don't know. So I'll read you guys 3 facts, and then all you have to do is guess the lie.
I think I'm gonna be bad at this.
It's okay. We'll learn together. Ready to play?
Sure.
Okay, here's round 1. Fact 1. 74% of middle school girls express an interest in engineering, science, and math. Fact 2. Women comprise 45% of the STEM workforce. And fact 3 is 2 out of 3 U.S. women say they were not encouraged to pursue a career in STEM. What do you think the lie is?
Oh boy.
I think the third one is the fact. I think the first one probably might be.
The lie. Okay.
I'm going to guess 3 just because that's what I hope is the lie.
Yeah. 45%.
Okay, that's a really good guess because that's true. Fact 2 is the lie. You're right.
Yes,
Fact 2 is the lie.
Go!
I feel like there's more women in STEM. I feel like the lie is like the second one.
You are correct. But women actually comprise 27% of the STEM workforce. What do you think about that?
Should be way more than that.
This is particularly troubling considering that 74% of middle school girls initially indicated their interest in STEM and that women currently comprise of 50% of the college-educated workforce. Yeah, what do you guys think?
It's depressing. It's depressing. More representation.
Round 2. So fact 1, 75% of schools in the U.S. offer computer science classes. Fact 2, 20% of U.S. high school graduates are prepared for college-level coursework in STEM majors. And then fact 3 is the U.S. placed 30th out of 64 countries in math and 11th in science. Which one do you think is the lie?
I mean, we're the richest country on earth. We have to be doing better than that. I'm gonna say 3 is the lie.
Okay.
Second one again. The second one? Yeah, the second one.
The second one? The fact 1 is actually the lie.
No.
Actually, majors.
75 seems kind of high, especially for like wealth disparity.
So maybe the first one?
You guys are really killing it. Actually, less than half of the schools in the United States offer a computer science curriculum.
What?
Without these fundamental courses, do you guys think that kids are going to be ready to meet the evolving and growing landscape of STEM professions?
No.
No.
Probably not.
No, definitely not.
I would definitely think that the government would need to basically invest more because I believe that would be good for the future of the country. So
Me too. Okay, round 3. Let's see if you guys can go 3 for 3. Fact 1. 90% of districts primarily serving Black and Latinx students reported difficulties recruiting and retaining certified STEM teachers. Fact 2. Over 40% of U.S. households with income lower than $25,000 have daily access to technology. And then fact 3 is 25% of U.S. schools in predominantly Black and Latinx neighborhoods don't offer Algebra 2. Which one do you think is the lie?
Can I read them?
Yes.
Is the answer there?
No.
Okay, wait.
Do you think it's 2? 2 or 3?
I don't know. Probably the first one. I'm not really sure.
Again, I know I've been burned on this twice already, but I'm going to say 3 because that's the most depressing one.
I'm really sorry to do this to you, but this was a trick question. What? They're actually all true.
Oh, man.
It's actually a trick question because they are all true, yes.
That's why it's tricky.
Dang it, there we go. It's a losing battle.
Students from predominantly Black and Latinx neighborhoods are currently at a major disadvantage when it comes to receiving quality STEM education. This explains why Black and Latinx communities only make up 16% of the STEM workforce.
16%, you said?
Yes.
Yikes.
What do you guys think about the statistics you learned about today?
Again, I mean, not enough representation, lack of access to equal opportunity.
I didn't know any of those numbers, so that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm speechless.
I think the more knowledge that kids can have, the better it'll be for our future.
That's definitely like mind-blowing and crazy to think of how certain groups are at a disadvantages, and I think there needs to be some change made about that.
Just like it's crazy to know the statistics to this because like it's not something people talk about.
These statistics are bleak, but we are hoping to change that in the coming years, yeah?
Absolutely.
As you can see, the lack of diversity in STEM education and STEM careers is so staggering that some of the brightest students in the country had difficulty separating the truths from the lies. Now is the time to act. You have the ability to make a difference. Join me in writing to your school administration to include culturally relevant STEM education and support expanded STEM educational access. With your help, we can dismantle the diversity gap in STEM and make STEM 100%. Text STEM to 38383 to learn more.
Yay! I hope you're feeling very inspired and quizzical after watching that video, because now we're going to play our own quick game of 2 truths and a lie. The poll box will pop up as I read the question, and once it pops up, please select which fact out of the 3 is the lie. Are you ready? So question 1, which is the lie? A fragrance chemist is a real STEM career. A snake milker is a real STEM career, and a Neptunologist is a real STEM career. Now select which one you think is the lie. I don't actually know when the answer comes up, but fact 3 is in fact the lie. A Neptunologist is not technically a real STEM career, but yes, a snake milker is a real job. Snakes do not produce milk. However, they do produce venom, and the job of a snake milker is to extract venom from the fangs of live, highly poisonous snakes. Snake venom is highly medicinal and can be used to create antidotes for snake bite poisoning, but also for treating Alzheimer's disease, clotting disorders, and even cancer. So next, we have another question, question 2, and all you have to do again is select the lie. So fact 1, we have, if we don't engage students by the 9th grade, approximately 95% will lose interest in STEM. Fact 2 is by 2030, 80% of jobs will require technology literacy and basic STEM skills. And fact 3, the acronym for STEM was SMET in the 1990s, then METS, and then eventually it was changed to what we know today in 2001. So select which one you think is the lie. Okay, the answer is that fact one is the lie. If we don't engage students actually by the 5th grade, not 9th grade, then approximately 95% will lose interest in STEM. It is so important for schools to provide more in-depth STEM education at a young age so that students can be exposed to career paths they might not have known otherwise. And this is exactly why DoSomething's Make STEM 100% program focuses on asking schools to include more STEM education. So now we are going to segue into a really exciting panel, and we have a great lineup of panelists, and I'm so excited to introduce them to you all. First, we have Carson Mata, who serves as senior of the Sustainability Communications team at General Motors, where she regularly collaborates with business, sustainability, and policy colleagues to develop and incorporate cross-functional positions that inform engagement strategies for GM's sustainability initiatives. Next, we have Connor Alexi, who currently serves as an application engineer at 3M, where he is responsible for 3M's paint shop business within the US market. Next, we have Jason Clark, who serves as the Executive Director of Tech NYC. He is dedicated to building a vibrant and dynamic tech industry that works for all New Yorkers. Next, we have Tokiwa Smith, who is an author, consultant, nonprofit executive, and speaker with over 19 years experience in academia, government, and philanthropy. She is the founder and executive director of Science, Engineering, and Mathematics Link, Inc., also known as SEM Link, a STEM education nonprofit organization. And lastly, we have Teresa Hall, who serves as Senior Vice President of Customer Operations at Project Lead the Way, whose pathways in computer science, engineering, and biomedical science engage students in hands-on activities, projects, and problems, empower them to solve real-world challenges, and inspire them to reimagine how they see themselves. Welcome, everybody, to the Do Something panel, and I'm so excited to speak with you guys today. So the first question we have for anyone who just wants to jump in and start the conversation is, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background, as well as how you found the role you're currently in, and how your past experiences sort of led you to where you are now? Whoever wants to jump in first.
Okay. I'll go ahead. I started off my career as an elementary teacher a very long time ago and wrote a grant that got, this will age me, 2 Apple IIe computers in every kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade classroom. And then I had to teach the teachers how to implement that. And taking that risk opened the door for learning and integrating technology into education every other step along my path.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. Carson here. I'm so excited to be with all of you. And Alexis, thanks for introing us and for that awesome video. I thought that was really cool. I think I'll take how I got to this point. I work for GM. I'm in the Office of Sustainability, which I absolutely love. But I got to this point, I think, because of my grandparents. And I grew up actually just always thinking about how can we reuse things in the house? How can we conserve what we have? How can we make sure that we're not wasting food or we're not throwing away any plastic and we're recycling? So I feel like from a very young age, it was actually cultural for me. My grandparents were always on me about not wasting any food, about recycling and making sure that we were throwing things in the right bins. And I feel like that definitely inspired me through school and is what led me here, actually. So thanks.
Yeah, and I'll jump in as well. So my name is Jason. I'm over at Tech NYC. And for me, I think the way that I got in this, well, frankly, a little bit was kind of by just serendipity. So, I'm a lawyer by trade, and I'd been helping this criminal justice startup, figure out ways that they can kind of make an impact, in a community. And sure enough, I think between that work as well as a few other community-oriented things, folks had reached out about this new role at Tech NYC. And, at Tech NYC, we try to make sure that, New York is the best place in the world to be able to build and grow a tech company. And a lot of, what drew me to this and what we're looking to do is figure out ways just like this that we can create a pipeline of talent and that starts with making sure that folks are having more STEM and more computer science in our school. So that's a little bit how I got in here. And the thing I really love about it is you actually never have to dress up really when you're in tech. This is only because of something later on, but you get to go to work most days like in your jeans and a polo shirt. So it's a lot of fun for a number of reasons.
Okay, I can go next. So Connor Alexi, application engineer here at 3M. So like a lot of students going through high school, I really wasn't quite sure of what I wanted to do. I was on the fence about going straight into a job after high school, but during my senior year, I toured a few tech schools, and that kind of led me to apply and get in eventually at one locally for collision repair, as well as my 2-year degree. So while going to school, I was very fortunate to get job offers within the first few weeks, probably actually, if not a month when I was going to school. So I ended up taking a job offer at a local body shop that just so happened to be right off the highway on my way home from school. So it made it very convenient. I was able to go to work after school. And the cool part about that was being able to apply my schooling directly to my work almost every day. So that makes it a lot easier, not only for your schoolwork, but also your job as well. So before graduating with my 2-year degree in collision repair, I was extremely lucky that 3M reached out to me and was looking to see if I'd be interested in a technician job at 3M, doing a lot of the paint testing, a lot of the spraying, and working with some of our customers directly. And while doing so, I kind of found myself, hey, I want to be able to do more for the industry, give back more. And that kind of led me down the path of going to school back again for my 4-year degree. And then right after that, getting hired on as an application engineer within our group. So yeah, a little bit about myself.
I guess I'll round this out. So I am a chemical engineer. I have been a girl that has always loved math and science since as long as I can remember. And the village that raised me helped encourage me to do so. And so after graduating, I transitioned into a career in STEM education and higher ed, but was actively involved with K through 12 and talking to students at a middle school. And none of them wanted to be a STEM professional. So the chemical engineer in me just cried, like, what is going on? And when I realized a lot of their answers were based on the adults that they saw in their lives. And so, although I came from a college educated network, I only met 2 STEM professionals. And I realized that children need role models. So I was able to persist with my love of STEM alone, but most kids aren't like that. They need to see someone. And so I started my organization in 2005, just initially bringing my network so that kids could see STEM professionals and learn what they do firsthand so they can make that connection of if they're interested in chemistry or if they're not sure, they can have that career path by seeing something, because representation truly matters and kids cannot see something they don't become. Certain kids, the love of math and science isn't enough. And also if they meet someone doing something that they want to do, that child that doesn't see why school is important, they can be motivated. Like, I need to go to school because I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a biologist, or I want to be a botanist. And so that is how I got into this work.
That's really amazing to hear how diverse your different stories of how you guys got into the STEM field are. My next question is for Tokiwa, but if anyone wants to sort of chime in afterwards, please do. What would you recommend for teens and young adults interested in STEM but don't know, where or how to get started?
The beauty of you all growing up now, unlike when I grew up, is there's so much access to technology. We had to go to the library, look at encyclopedias, see who we knew in their network. But just this phone that's in your hand, you can have so much access to information. So looking up different things on different websites, the Department of Labor has an occupational handbook that you can look up and learn different careers. learn what education you need, how much money they make. Right now, there are a lot of STEM professionals that are on social media sharing their work. There's a hashtag Black in STEM. There is a hashtag for so many different careers. And these are people that demystify and debunk the myth that scientists are old white men in like lab coats. Scientists are on the beach doing work, field work. They are behind computers. They are doing all diversity of things. So you can learn a lot of those things. And nothing beats in real life. And so if you see somebody on the internet, or you happen to be in a city where a local college or university, see if you can find some out of school time STEM programs. Engage in things in your community, in your school, and in your local libraries of STEM activities. So a combination of finding mentors and role models on social media in real life, but also engaging in activities of things that you're interested in. So if you are interested in biology, there's apps called iNaturalist where you can go in parks and look up wildlife and plant. If you're interested, if you like the stars and astronomy, you can look up, there's telescope apps. If you like experiments, you can do YouTube. If you like chemistry like me, there's just a wealth of knowledge that you can find on your phone and in your communities. And then if you were in rural areas, there are a lot of virtual programs that you can have access to. That's one of the beauties of the pandemic, a lot of programming offered virtually. So just look at your phone, start Googling stuff, look up STEM professionals, and make as many real life connections. And also find kids your age that like STEM. They are out there, and build your community of people that will encourage you and support your interest.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so important to have a community in STEM, and oftentimes that's really where all that work starts budding from. So that's really great advice. My next question is for Jason. How did you find mentors in the field, or how do you recommend young people find mentors in STEM?
Yeah, I think the first answer to that is, events like this, right? Today, there are quite a number of folks, who are participating, whether as panelists, for help with being able to organize, and, speaking and reaching out and being able to say, hey, I'm very interested in some of the work that you're doing. I really liked what you said, even if you didn't complete that. They said, right? And then just say, what are some of the pathways that you got involved, and ask if they know folks that are interested in being mentored. They may be, some of us may be in positions to be able to do those type of things. What I also like too is that using some of the resources that you have, which are, right in front of you. Like, for example, I think LinkedIn is a terrific resource, right? Some of the things I do is, let's say there's someone I really admire, or let's say there's a particular role, whether it's in computer science or it's in some other type of passion that you're thinking about. Look at folks that you really like who are doing that type of work, and then check to see like what their LinkedIn profile looks like, because it'll often show you the steps that they took from, going to college, if they did anything in some school after that, or what their first job was. So you can start to put together a picture of first how they came to where they are, and then see if there are any similarities. So for example, you may see that the two of you went to the same high school. You may see that the two of you come from like the same neighborhood or what have you. And then that part of it is really just, elbow grease, going out there and sending messages saying, hey, we don't know each other very well, but, we had the same science teacher, or whatever it is. There's often certain things that you can find that there's a connection. So, and those are the type of things that I think will make sure, folks kind of resonate. And, I'd also say with that, just don't give up. Someone may not have the time. Like if you send that message, and I don't know if he has one, but if Barack Obama has a LinkedIn, right? He may have other things that he's also trying to to juggle as well. But someone may reach out and say, hey, I may not be able to do this, but there's this really great program that I was a part of that had some mentors, or this is kind of the direction you should be able to look at. Or, they may be willing to give you a conversation and, kind of point you in the right direction. So, to nowadays, there's so many ways that you can get involved and find mentors. But I think it starts with going to events like this, figuring out where there may be in-person events and speaking with folks, and then, developing a rapport with someone. And, you keep at it, you're going to find people who are invested in your success as much as you.
Alexis, can I just piggyback off Jason's awesome
Yes,
answer?
please,
I think
please.
my addition would be just shoot your shot. You guys are the experts of social media. You know how to send messages and send DMs and, talk to folks. Like, that's your main way of communicating for some, not for all. But your generation is like, that's your bread and butter. So use it to your advantage. And I totally echo what Jason has to say about just like reaching out, put yourself out there. And even if you don't hear back right away, just, keep at it, because there are going to be people out there that will want to help and will engage you. And, it's great when you find those connections. So go for it.
Yes, I totally can confirm shooting your shot is always worth it, even if it doesn't work out sometimes. You should try it anyways. Okay, so my next question is for Connor. What led you to seek out and pursue a career in vocational/skilled trade work?
So great question. What led me to seek out a career in a skilled trade wasn't really a direct path that a lot of other people have. A lot of other people kind of know earlier on, hey, I'm probably going to go into the skilled trade. For myself, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do after high school, kind of like what I stated before. I knew working with my hands, I knew working with cars, I really enjoyed that type of stuff. So that's really what led me in the direction I took. I'd say something else that really drove me to skilled trades is being able to have a tangible outcome. Being able to step back at the end of a workday, look at my work and say, I did that. It gives you a lot of pride, a lot of joy being able to do that. And for me, seemed like it really drove my passion. And then lastly, I knew many industry leaders across a variety of industries started out in kind of a skilled trade position, or I guess in a lesser position from where they're at. Nothing to demote about that. But and that's kind of another option that I kind of looked at and said, hey, a lot of those people took that path. So it's not necessarily a bad path to start there. And it really opens up the opportunities, and they're really endless. And then looking back, now I never really saw it or really looked at necessarily going for a STEM program. I didn't see it at the time that way, but now I have a little bit of a different perspective, and STEM really played a big part in it for me, as well as who I am today, and then my job and career that I'm at this point.
That's awesome. So it seems like you got like your current role from your passion for cars and the technical side of things versus an initial passion for STEM or wanting to work in the STEM field. Do you see these STEM skills showing up in your work now? And if so, where are you seeing them show up?
I'd say they show up every day in a multitude of ways. There's so many times that I'm working with our development department or other people within our lab setting that those STEM roles or those STEM ideas, without them, we wouldn't be successful at what we do. Not only that, but they just play a huge part in being able to communicate with our customers, work with the end users, and really knowing all the different facets of products or anything really.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Okay, so my next question is for Carson. Given confidence issues that many young people face going into the STEM fields, it can be very common and easy to have imposter syndrome. Have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome? And if you have, how have you managed through it?
Thanks, Alexis. That's a great question. I have certainly dealt with imposter syndrome and continue to do so. I will say it's an ongoing journey of just trying to get over, feeling a little like, some of the subject matter is too challenging at the time, or, that you don't understand something in the moment and you feel a little like, you have a lot of questions and you're confused, but you're too afraid to ask. I would say, and this is probably going to be a theme throughout the discussion points that I have, but just shoot your shot. Again, it's like, don't be afraid to ask questions, and know that, in the positions that you're in and people understand where you're at in your life. You're young, and we know that you're going to have questions, and folks out there that you turn to ask these questions are going to, support you. That may not always be the case 100% of the time, but I just really encourage folks to be brave and ask questions. I work in the communications field, and so I am dealing with subject matter experts all day long, engineers, folks like Connor, folks like Jason even. And I have to kind of translate some of the material, they're very technical documents. And as a comms professional, I have to kind of put their work into, layman's terms, trying to put it on social media for, regular folks to understand. And it could be really tough, even for someone that's been in this field. I've been working, in the climate and environment space for my whole career so far. And there are still some concepts that I really need to sit down with our engineers and our scientists sometimes and really get in the weeds on the topics with them. But what I've come, what I feel like has helped me get past imposter syndrome is just really that fierce, sort of unafraid attitude of just like, I'm going to ask these questions. And if they seem really basic, that's okay, because what we're putting out there into the world for anyone to understand it, you've got to really make sure that you understand it, right, as a communicator. And so if I don't understand it, how am I supposed to get anyone to connect with the message? So, be open and just be brave, and don't think, I know that you probably hear all the time, there's no such thing as a stupid question, like, and I even hate to repeat it here, but it just couldn't be, it couldn't be more true. And you will find that people that are in the really technical fields and really like the experts actually appreciate questions, because they want to know that you're engaged, and they like that you're asking about their work and really are trying to understand. So don't be afraid, and continue to shoot your shot, and you will get through it. And lean on mentors that you come across, like through organizations like Do Something, and the folks on this panel. Reach out for advice if you ever get stuck, but use your resources and be brave. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it seems like a very common thread throughout a lot of these answers is just trying new things and being really confident and just putting yourself out there. And I can't sort of affirm that more. That's so true. My next question is for Teresa. What advice would you give young people about advocating for STEM education in their schools?
So the first advice would be take lots of the information that you've heard today and use that. Come to the table with data, not feelings. So say it strongly, say it with the confidence that we're talking about. Use what Tokiwa said, get that phone out, get the data, arm yourself with information, and ask for it. You can also utilize the advice from the other panelists as well, and bringing those mentors into the conversation. In a community that's trying to develop a workforce pipeline, it needs to start where you are. So if you're not prepared to go into that, it's the school's responsibility to prepare you. So coming to the table with that data, asking for it, be an active participant, attend those school board meetings, ask what's going on, connect with the science chair, connect with the math chair, connect with the technology folks, anyone in any of the fields, ask them what's going on, but know the information before you come, before you get there, bring that data with you. We want our students to have high wage, high opportunity careers, and STEM fields are those careers. The other component of that I would say is, by the time you're in high school, you're going to have to advocate hard to get something in place during your 4 years. So look behind you, advocate for your middle school kids, advocate for the elementary kids. So it starts there. To Alexis's point during Two Truths and a Lie around 5th grade, we even go with the statistic that it's 2nd grade, especially for young women. Young women decide by 2nd grade if they're good at STEM. And so to make sure that we have opportunities in all of these fields at that early age, we need folks to reach back and encourage the younger children. So if you are in a STEM class in your high school, invite the middle school kids up, invite the elementary school kids up, figure out how to make it visible in the community so that you can build that support for growing more STEM programming.
Yeah, just to echo everything Teresa has said, it seems very daunting to feel like you have to go up to your administration, but really they're there to work with you. If you go with like all of your resources, as she was saying, all of the statistics, they're there to listen to you and to help serve you and your peers. So that's really, if that's something that you're excited about and want to do, you really should go get involved. So circling back to Tokiwa, how can young people find opportunities outside of the classroom that can help them pursue a career in STEM, or whoever wants to chime in afterwards as well?
For me, the advice I would give is pay attention to two things to help you guide what you want to do out of school time. So most importantly, like what classroom subject in STEM did you like? So although I always loved STEM, I found out my favorite STEM discipline was chemistry in 10th grade in Mrs. Shy's chemistry class, because I love the experimentation. I love to mix chemicals. I'm really good at math, so I love the problem solving of chemistry, that I didn't have to like memorize stuff in biology because I have an awful memory. And so pay attention to what classes that you feel like you're good at, or you're like, I wish we had more hands-on activities. Those things could guide your interest. Also pay attention to what like television shows you like. So there are so many like CIS and sci-fi. I'm a huge sci-fi person, sci-fi shows. And if any of those topics, especially the ones where they're creating stuff or exploring new worlds or looking at plants, if you find any of those interests those are two guides that can help you say, like, these are what I think I'm interested in. What can I do more? And so the first step is look at what is at your school. If there are any out of school time STEM clubs that you can participate. Another thing, and this is a huge advocate, so I'm totally biased, your science fair project. A lot of times you only do it because you're like, man, if I don't do it, I'm going to fail science, right? But science fair projects are the only time that you get to choose what you are going to study. And it is a perfect opportunity for you to take your out of school time to really learn about a subject that you're interested in, conduct an experiment, present your work to your peers, and become an expert in topics. So encourage people to do science fairs and STEM competitions. Then look in your community and what's accessible. So whether it's a one-time event or program, college and universities are good places, libraries are good places to find programs and clubs that you can take advantage of, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a summer science program, whether it's something that happens on Saturdays. And also get out and explore safely on your own. So take a buddy, let your parents know. So if that means, go to your park, a lot of my friends who are engineers talk about breaking stuff at home and putting it back together because they were interested in mechanical engineers and building stuff. Disclaimer, your parents, so don't be tearing up stuff if you have parents that will not encourage you tearing up stuff and repairing it. Know your family and what their boundaries are. So, create your own experiments. You can explore. And so the biggest thing that the beauty of, you spend so much time in school, right? But you have weekends out of school time, summer. That is your time to explore, read, engage, graphic novels, sci-fi clubs, Dragon Con, Comic-Con, like all of these different spaces that you can explore your different interests. So that's my key, explore, because classroom is where you get your fundamentals. You have to read in order to do STEM. You have to do some level of math. You have to know the basic concepts. But STEM is not in a textbook. STEM, you have to do STEM. And so find opportunities where you can do STEM in the area that you're interested in.
I can definitely resonate with your answer. My mother, I would say, is very excited once I got my first gaming PC and stopped breaking apart all of her electronics. So I can totally feel that question. My next question is another one for Teresa. What advice would you give young people? Oh, wait, just kidding. I already gave you that one. I feel like now I have one for Carson. How does STEM intersect with other areas young people are interested in, such as social justice, climate change, civics, and democracy?
That's a great question. Another one, and kind of a heavy question, but I will say that when I think about, this audience and the generation of what I really see as a generation full of activists, from where I sit in the Office of Sustainability at General Motors, all of our work right now is centered around combating climate change and how we as an automaker can do that. And so, STEM is all over the Office of Sustainability. We have engineers, we have, chemists, we have biologists, and they're all doing this work to help us combat climate change as a company. And that's the message that resonates with, our consumers, with people that buy our electric vehicles someday. So I would say that there's a direct correlation with STEM and really just with education and arming yourself with that knowledge. And you couple that with the passion that I really feel like, your age group has for social justice, for climate change and combating climate change and addressing it and fighting it. And for, all of the things that we're seeing in society that are so really difficult to wrap our arms around. I will say, I think, from the lens that from where the office that I work in and climate being really the focus for our work, I think climate equity, just like encapsulates all of this like societal and gender inequities that we see out in the world. And if you choose to, take the STEM path, and if you end up in sort of the sustainability environment focused landscape, there's a lot of activism going on here in these offices. And, with your passion again, and with the STEM education that you will maybe be pursuing in this, in your lifetime. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of really amazing work to be done. And you don't necessarily even have to go down a traditional path. And I say that because I didn't take a traditional path. I don't have a STEM background. And actually, I probably was in the 5th grade. I'm part of that 95th percentile that kind of lost interest eventually because I didn't have it. Not that I didn't have the access, but I don't think it was really like promoted very heavily in my school system. But, just that passion for social justice and activism over time. And then my upbringing that I mentioned at the top of the call, really always being conscious of the environment and conservation has, led me to this point. And I think, there's just a lot of potential for you folks if you take this path. You can go into that sort of advocacy role, or you can, go the more traditional route and do, tech or engineering, but it's all really fantastic. And I think there's a lot of intersection there. So really good stuff.
There definitely is. My next question is for Teresa and Connor, if you want to chime in afterwards as well. What do you wish you knew when you were a teen or a young adult that you know now / advice for your younger self?
Yeah, I would say 2 things really stand out to me. One is you learn when you fail. Like, failing is not a failure. And so if you don't take risks, if you don't try new things, if you don't do things wrong, you're not going to know how to do it better next time. Just thinking of that, like the design cycle, you're just always going to be making things better, and there's not really an end to it. So I spent a lot of time wanting to get like all of the A's, cared more about the points than the learning. And at some point in your life that changes. And for me, it really wasn't until adulthood that kind of like Carson's theme, shoot that shot. If you don't take that risk, you're not, like I said earlier, I started my career as an elementary teacher. I would never think I would be an SVP of operations, right? That's not really a typical path, but I had opportunities presented to me that I said yes to. And so I think leaning into that, learning as a younger person that that taking risks, and even if you don't get it, you really will learn something and it'll shoot you in a different direction, potentially a better direction. The other advice for my younger self, and really anyone out there, is that there's no such thing as a math person and not a math person. Like, math is something that you get better at by practicing. You weren't born being good at math, just like you weren't born being good at a certain sport or playing an instrument. You get better by practicing. So when someone says to you, like was said to me when I was young, well, you can't be good at everything. Math just might not be your thing. That made me think math wasn't my thing for a good 20 years. When in fact, I'm good at math. You just have to practice it. So don't buy into that math myth. It's the gatekeeper for lots of those careers that you're interested in. Push through it. You can do it. You just have to practice.
Yeah, and then doubling, tripling, quadrupling up on what everybody else has been saying, right? Really don't be afraid to go after something, right? That's a huge one that I definitely struggled with when I was going through middle school and high school. I was very tentative as far as making a decision. Don't be afraid to make a decision. If it doesn't turn out to be the right decision or the long-term decision, that's totally fine. One way, shape, or form, your pathway will eventually get to where it's supposed to be. Just trust what you're doing, trust your decision making, don't second guess it, and then just really dive into everything that you're able to do. Because when I was younger, a lot of times I'd hesitate with trying to really learn ideas or really thinking that it was necessary for me to learn something, particularly in school. But it turns out later on, I had to relearn it all because I never spent the time to focus on it while I was going to school. So yeah, just really focusing on giving all your attention to your passions and running with it.
Okay, I have one last question because I know we're a little short for time before we get to the audience Q&A. For Jason, how do you see the STEM ecosystem shifting in the next 5 years, and how can young people prepare?
Yeah, no, that's it's a very good question. Well, I think, for example, when we're talking about science in these areas, especially computer science, I mean, the great thing about it is it's always evolving, right? It's always changing, it's always building. Like, I'm even thinking about the term STEM right now, right? So science, technology, engineering, mathematics, right? And then it's STEAM, and then you have the A that's there for arts. And then the most recent thing I've actually heard is that people are even now calling it STREAM, right? Putting an R in for robotics, right? And I think there's a certain poetry in there, which is that, this is always evolving and there's always more that we have to learn. And we're always building in these spaces. Especially even listening to, the video clip we had earlier. I like to think when we're talking about how computer science evolves, it evolves into a way where we're getting computer science earlier and in all of our schools, right? Like, one of the things that we're very proud of is that there was an initiative that we helped with called CS for All, stands for Computer Science for All, where $40 million through a public and private partnership is being allocated to make sure that, by 2025, at least, here in New York City, that each elementary school, each middle school, and each high school has computer science in it, because these aren't the type of things that you learn overnight. They come from having that seed of interest in them very early and figuring out ways that you can kind of sow that. So I think that the first step, over the next 5 years, is making sure that there's more equity and inclusion when it comes to computer science and STEM. And I think that comes from making sure that there are more opportunities for folks to be able to learn them, given how much that this is a 21st century skill. And this is where a lot of the new job growth is going on there. So I think we got to do a lot more in that space. So I'd like to see in the next 5 years that we see more of that happening, and that the ideas behind computer science and STEM just become more mainstream. And I'm hoping that, as we were saying before, the fact that people are using social media, that people are using their phones and their computers in innovative ways is the right way to go. But I want to make sure that people see earlier in their lives that, you can be an engineer, that you can be, as we're saying, good at math, you can be good at these science things. And even more importantly there, right, that the things that you want to change in your world, you know, whether it's like innovative solutions with housing, or innovative solutions with the environment, or figuring out all of these problems that, you know, many of us have dealt with for quite a long, like there are innovative solutions that you can come, you know, that you can find answers to, you know, if you can kind of learn that language of technology and start thinking about those things earlier. So I want to make sure that we're you know, we have it in our schools, and that we are, you know, getting closer to achieving that goal.
Me too, really. Now we're going to move on to our Q&A portion. Thank you guys so much for your lovely answers to the questions we've had so far. So some of you have submitted questions when you're registering for the panel this evening. So I'll be starting with those, and then we'll jump into the Q&A box. So anyone, please answer these questions as you see fit. And we'll start with, how can young people support one another in uplifting STEM careers?
There's two examples of some teenagers that I follow on social media that are doing really good job encouraging teens and younger people to do STEM. So there's Temple Lester. She actually created this STEM swag box that I bought for my niece, and she sells it, and she goes to school and does like assemblies with younger kids, and then she takes pictures of her friends that like STEM doing their STEM stuff, but also doing their regular teenage stuff, like going to the movies, going to homecoming dance, all of that things to show that you can have your diversity of interest. And then there is Isaiah. I'm almost certain his name is Isaiah because there are only so many names that start with an I. But he's a birder, and he actually leads birding expeditions. And he's in college now. Somehow I missed that, but he actually like shows fun facts about bird and does live as he's birding. And so finding your tribe, building your stuff, sharing on social media what you do so other teens can say, hey, that's pretty cool. And then reaching back to teach the ones younger behind you. So those are two great examples of teens showing their interest in STEM and encouraging other teens and those coming behind them.
Those are some really cool examples. I love the birding. I've never heard of that. That's awesome.
And sorry,
Okay.
I'll just quickly jump in. I
Yes,
guess I was saying I
please.
may have to run, but just want to say thank you for inviting me to be here. I really enjoyed this, and you know, let's keep this going. Take care.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Okay, so our next question is, how do we change the narrative on STEM accessibility, and how do I make space for myself in STEM as a minority? Can I point that to? Okay, perfect.
I think the main thing is that remembering that any room that you are in, that you belong there. You know, all throughout my career becoming a STEM professional, there was always somebody saying I couldn't, but there are many more people that said I could. And a thing that Teresa said, get help. You know, like I remember in high school and college, you know, taking physics and going to my friend's dad's house that was a chemist to get help with my physics homework. So I could have been like, oh, physics is hard. I'm not going to graduate. I'm not going to do STEM. So finding ways to balance all the noise and all the people that say you can't with people that want to support you on your journey and say that you can.
That is really so important, to surround yourself with those people that want to see you succeed. I have one more question before we jump into the Zoom box. And maybe Carson and Connor, you guys want to take the lead on this one. How can I gain experience before heading into the workforce? Where can I find scholarship and internship opportunities in STEM?
I would say there's a variety of options as far as looking into scholarships. There's a lot of different organizations out there. like Do Something that can potentially help you out with your future in a STEM role, right? But as far as figuring out kind of where to go, I would say you can always ask your school. There's different administrators and teachers even at times that can really help out with figuring out which programs, or if there's dedicated programs that can push you towards getting scholarships, other things of that nature. I'm going to lean on Carson a little bit to help me out with this one.
Sure. No, I totally agree with Connor. Use your resources, lean on your teachers and the mentors and folks in your household that can help you, figure out where to even look. Sometimes you got to think outside the box to or get a different perspective. But I'll also add to what Connor said. If there's a company or an organization that inspires you, look them up. Look them up online. Look them up on Instagram, look them up on LinkedIn, like Jason mentioned earlier. Cruise their website. There are more opportunities out there than you think. And especially maybe more so in unsuspecting places. So for example, GM has like a really robust sort of corporate giving program, and we have internship opportunities all the time that we list on LinkedIn and Indeed. We also are kind of working on some, more STEM education through our corporate giving, function in the company. But, if you're out there looking up information on, about all the fun things that you guys like to look up on TikTok, on Instagram, there's probably a company website that has information for you about how you can get involved or at least in touch with people that work there. And there may be opportunities that you didn't think to partner up. But gosh, I told myself I wouldn't say it again, but don't be afraid to ask. Even if there isn't actually a position like an internship out there that's listed on a website. I actually got my very first internship at a place called Eco Veggies in Newark, New Jersey. It was a vertical farming startup. And it was one guy, his name was Richard Charles, I'll never forget. It was one guy, and I was a sophomore in college, and it was my summer going into my junior year. And my mom said, you better get an internship, you better do something, you cannot just be at home. So I already knew at that point that I was interested in, these topics. I was already studying environmental policy in college. And I reached out to him on email. This was like before LinkedIn days. So I feel like it's much easier now because you have like everyone's bio at your fingertips. I found his email. I just looked up Eco Veggies online. I found his email and I sent him an email. And I was like, I don't know if you're bringing on interns or if you have, a role for me, but I really like what you guys are doing and I'd love to join you. And he said, you know what, Carson, I'm a team of one right now. And I love that you're interested. But it's just not something I could do right now. So the next summer, I was actually spring. I was more prepared that year. I wasn't going to come home without an internship. I started reaching out, trying to find an internship for that next summer. And I put my feelers out to him again. And he was amazed. He was like, oh my gosh, I remember you. I remember when you reached out. And this year we're actually totally ready to take on an intern. So persistence, again, that just like fearlessness of, I'm going to do it. There's no shame in asking. And the same goes for asking for help. So don't be afraid to reach out to people because you never know what it'll turn into. That internship was a really great experience for me. So
one thing to add there, if you look up workforce development in your area, especially in more rural communities, that can be a connector to you for companies, for internships. Lots of times in small communities, there are hidden businesses that you don't know about. They're not a storefront, but they're making things, they're building things. And so if you look up workforce development and find that department in your area, that might be a link to another link that'll get you where you want to go.
Yeah, and I'll take team off that as well. Sometimes companies will actually reach out to you as well, kind of like they did for myself. Depending on what college you're going to, a lot of times colleges work directly with big companies on different projects in kind of the STEM field, right? So a lot of times that path can lead you to that particular company if you find an interest with them.
Those are all really great pieces of advice. I've definitely followed some of those, so definitely listen to these. experts. I have one final question before we all leave each other for this evening. It's from our Zoom live today. Someone says, I am a junior in high school at an early college high school. My school chooses my classes, so I'm not taking any engineering courses, but I hope to become a mechanical engineer. Is that okay, or am I behind? What do you guys think?
It's okay. You're not behind. Keep doing hard things, keep working. Plenty of engineers had no engineering in high school. I would guess most of them had no engineering in high school. You're okay.
Yeah, for sure, totally fine. I never even thought I was going to go to end up being an engineer. I went to 2-year school and I didn't end up going back to my 4-year degree until, let's see, would have been about 3.5 years after high school, realistically. So you're totally okay.
You heard it here from an actual engineer, so you should take that to heart. I'll also add that you speak up and I don't know what it'll yield, but if you have the opportunity, again, like Teresa and Tokiwa mentioned, if you have the chance to talk to your school administration in any way, just to let them know that hey, I'm interested in these things and it's not offered, but put that in their head, plant the seed, and go for it.
Yeah, and also to just look at the colleges you want to go to and what their requirements are, and advocate to make sure your school gives you those, because you won't get a chance to go to college and become an engineer if your school doesn't have those, requirements that the next level requires you to do. But I didn't take an engineering course, just all the requirements for me to get into engineering school.
That's really some golden advice. You definitely want to make sure you're doing at least what is required of you. Thank you all so much for answering our questions today. That was so insightful, and I feel really lucky to have been able to sit down with you guys. I hope all of our attendees feel the same. We'll now be launching a poll. You should see it pop up on your screen regarding your experience at our panel today. Please let us know what you thought of our event, and if there's anything you think we can improve upon by answering the questions in the poll. As a final reminder, I invite you to participate in Do Something's Make STEM 100% program, where you can participate in a 1-2 call to actions, including reaching out to your school administrators and telling them you want a better STEM education at your school, and downloading and sharing their Make STEM 100% resource guide with your peers to further your STEM future. And with that, I want to thank you all on behalf of Do Something, 3M, and General Motors for attending this amazing panel discussion. Also sending a huge thank you to all of our panelists once again who have provided awesome expertise, advice, and wisdom for you all to use as you move through your student life and eventually your career. Thank you so much for joining again this evening, and I hope you all had a wonderful time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.